What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, a podcast that talks about comic books, movies, TV shows, and of course, we have the beer of the week. Today's episode, we have a great one for you as we're going to talk a little bit about hold on, I got to restart. I stuttered.
Oh, okay. Where was that email?
All right, here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, a pop culture podcast that talks about comic books, movies, TV shows, and of course, we feature a beer of the week. I am one of your hosts, Matt. With me, as always, is Lauren. And today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Christmas horror along with Violent Night, the 2022 movie featuring David Harbour. And as always, go ahead, subscribe at Hops Geek News anywhere you listen to podcasts. Drop us a review. Share with a friend, share with your grandma, let it play while your dog's at work or while you're at work, while your dog's at home. And that's how the podcast grows. Follow us on social media. And then lastly, you can find us on the Nerd Initiative Network, where every single Wednesday we are reviewing comic books on Nerd Initiative. Go to nerdinitiative.com. And also on Tuesdays, we do a live show. Check us there. And if this is your first time listening to the show, we do what we're drinking, what we've messed up on or looked into the past week, what we've been reading or watching. We dive into some news. And then, of course, our main topic. So, Lauren, why don't you kick us off with what you're drinking today?
So I am drinking a beer from Abomination Brewing in North Haven, Connecticut, and it is called Gingerbread Fog. It's a double dry hopped, IPA with spices. So I open it. It looks very hazy. Looks very double IPA-ish.
It did.
I smell it. I still get more so IPA rather than gingerbread. But then when you taste it, you get spices, which I've never had like
Weird.
I've
Oh,
had a
that sounds
spicy IPA,
kind of
but I've
good,
never
but
had
interesting.
an IPA with spices. Yeah, I feel like that sums it up. It's good but interesting.
All right. Weird. It does look very hazy-ish through the camera. So I was kind of surprised when you're like, ooh, weird. Whoa. That's
Yeah,
cool
it's more
glass.
hazy than spices, but there are spices in it. But some of these breweries, like Prairie, did a Christmas sour, and I'm like, how in the hell is that possible? I think it's called Seasick
You
Crocodile.
can do, oh, that's cool. You can do it
Yeah,
with like
it
a,
was
a Christmas sour with
good.
like cranberries.
Yeah, it had cranberries in it, but I think it also had like nutmeg or something. It was
Oh,
just
weird.
very not what you would expect, but it worked somehow at the
I'm
same
all about
time.
the weird. Let's get as
Um,
weird as we possibly can with some of these
I mean,
beers.
if it works, hell yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, people don't combine things. We don't get things like Reese's peanut butter cups. So you never know what's
That's
going to
true.
work.
Chocolate and peanut butter is God's gift to this planet.
Yes, but I have it in my glass to mouth Jack Skellington glass, and I took a picture with Sally and Zero because Sally makes it all foggy at Christmas, and I know we're
Yes.
going to talk about this a little bit. Nightmare Before Christmas is not a horror movie. It's on lists as a horror movie. There is zero horror in that movie.
It's not at all. It's like a dark comedy, if anything. Like if you had to classify it, it's very much not a
Honest,
horror, but
right?
people
What
aren't
it
getting
does is
murdered.
it shows you nobody dies.
No,
That's not already dead. No, nobody dies.
they're all
But
dead
it shows
already.
you the true spirit of Halloween and the true spirit of Christmas in the same
There's a
movie and
really good
helps you
message.
rebuild self confidence when you feel like you're stuck in a rut.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I
I
don't
don't know
know.
what's
I
horror
don't
about that.
interesting. Some people's kids, I tell you.
Maybe it's people who are just sick of their jobs. They find it to be like
But even
relatable
then,
and
just
that's a
because it has the
horror.
word nightmare, I don't know. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. Save the good stuff for later. I'm drinking this week from Hardywood Brewing out of Richmond, Virginia. Christmas pancakes. It's got a nice little gingerbread on front. It is a delectable imperial milk stout with spices, honey, and maple syrup at 9.2%. Now, Hardywood Christmas pancakes takes our gingerbread stout out for breakfast. We intensify our already decadent GBS with gallons of local maple syrup for a sweet and sticky treat. Who doesn't love breakfast
Ooh.
for dinner? It's a part of their Virginia Root
Runner.
series. It says pour slowly into a stem glass and savor at 45 degrees. Now I poured it
Do you have
slowly.
it in a stem glass?
It wasn't poured slowly, I don't think, but it is good. It's so pretty much it tastes like you're drinking a bourbon barrel aged maple syrup almost. It's pretty
That sounds
strong.
delicious.
It's very good. I do have one to send you. And this time of year, they have all sorts of different like Christmas pancakes. They have the gingerbread stout. They have a couple other ones. I think there's six in total. Maybe there's like six or something like that in total. And they're good. And no, I think maybe there's four. I don't know. I'll have to put it next week's messed up.
You
But
have to do the research, report
they
back.
come out with every year their GBS series, which they have like this big GBS is basically all their bourbon barrel aged beers and these like little short bottles. And You can
Is
go
it
to their
gingerbread barrel? What's the GBS
well,
stand
there
for?
is
What's
a
the acronym?
gingerbread barrel, but I don't know what the GBS stands for off the top of my head. All I know is that like there's some big thing behind it. You can get one of their variations in stores here, but otherwise you'd have to go to the brewery. They're having a GBS Fest. I think it's this weekend,
I
actually.
mean, yeah, I've obviously, Hardywood Christmas beers are
Yeah.
very well known.
Oh, well, yeah. And it's at their big location that's West Richmond. And that one's kind of honestly to me, I went there once and it was very overwhelming. They always have something going on there. It was more of a they had like a PGA golf event going on. It
Hmm.
was it was overwhelming. People were kind of rude, so it was kind of off-putting to me. However,
Mm.
their East Richmond location was actually pretty cool. It's beautiful. They have like a big lawn in the front. It's in like this little brewery alley basically, and they had fire pits, like hang out. They serve pizza there, and yeah. So they also have like this big like 32 pack for 127 bucks that has all their GBS series that you can order online and have it shipped to you.
32
I
pack?
think it's 32. It's
That's a lot of
127
beers.
bucks. You get a lot of beer, but it's
That's a
all
hell of
their
a
GBS
deal.
bottles in it, and you can have it shipped to you in certain states. Of course, I could have it shipped to my house. Same with the
Hmm.
Veil. The Veil actually ships as well, but I do want to get over there. Maybe try to get to this. It's not someplace I'd want to go with kids, and
I mean, is there really anywhere you want to go with kids?
no, I'm taking the kids to DC this weekend for a day trip, and I will report back on the next episode because I should be visiting friends of the show, Silver Branch Brewery, which is like 5 minutes, not 5 minutes, nothing's 5 minutes in DC, but it's 5 miles away from the
If there's
Smithsonian
anything
stuff.
5 minutes anywhere,
No, it's about 5 miles away from the Smithsonian or something like that. So I think I'm gonna go and visit that this weekend. So we'll report
that's
back
cool.
next week. And yeah, that's what I got going on. So let's roll into what we've messed up on. Which I don't really think this first one counts because I said this in the during this.
I was just gonna say I think that you fixed it in there, but we still didn't sound like we were 100%. But you
Come
did say
on,
this
say anything
one.
with enough confidence. You're always correct. Isn't that the
I don't want to
politician
be
way?
that kind of show. We want fact checkers, so we are our own fact checkers. I don't know if that's any better. We couldn't remember the exact name for Obadiah Stane. Matt did end up saying Ironmonger, but I went ahead and did a Google just to verify it is
You
Ironmonger.
Googleizer.
They literally say it though like once, and it's a very like throwaway line, and I literally never ever ever noticed it until I did that MCU trivia at Deadwords Brewing,
Oh,
and it was the only one I got wrong. And I was like, they didn't say this in the movie. There's no way I missed it. I've seen that movie a million
joke's on you,
times.
buddy.
I was wrong. The next thing we messed up on, so Patrick, who called us out in the Discord, and he said, you missed the best part about the Mari Lod last week. Remember, we talked Christmas monsters,
Yes.
and this was the horse skull that they decorate very creepily. So, the best fun fact about this is you have to engage in a rat battle with the horse to prevent it from coming into your house. And if it does get in, it causes chaos and scares the shit out of your kids.
To do a rap battle. Who comes up with this? A rap battle, huh?
I don't
Interesting.
know, but anytime I hear rap battle, yeah, I just picture like Eminem and Falcon. Like
Yeah.
Clarence's parents have a real nice marriage. Like, go
This
ahead, tell them
man,
something
you
they
a
don't already
gangster?
know.
This man's real name is Clarence, and Clarence's parents got a real good marriage.
Aw,
Ah, what a
it's okay.
loving
He grew up to be
household.
Captain America.
He did.
The other thing, so we mentioned last week that I was like hesitant about the Boys Mexico spinoff. And I realized like how
Yeah.
hypocritical that is of me because I'm all about like give me more of what I like, and if you don't like it, just don't watch it. And then somebody posted a meme that said we need a payback prequel spinoff that stars Soldier Boy, and I can't agree with that more. I totally think we need that spinoff.
Or
So I
shouldn't.
just wanted to call myself out
You
and
should. You
put that
should.
out into the universe.
Who knows? Maybe
That's what
we
I got.
will. If Jensen doesn't become Batman, who knows?
Oh, apparently, yeah. So the Supernatural fam is pushing that out fandom because they're like, oh, James Gunn will do a fan casting, and he's already
No,
come
he
out and been like,
won't.
I'm not casting Jensen Ackles, but
He did
who
say that?
knows? Well, he
Oh.
said he hasn't or something. Just saw like the headline of like James Gunn said he hasn't
James Gunn's
cast
on the naughty list,
Jensen or
dude.
hasn't talked about it or talked to him, or he probably doesn't even know him like of his work. Like if you're not familiar with Supernatural,
It's one of the biggest shows in pop culture. I'm willing to bet he's
but a
familiar.
lot of people
And with the boys, I'm willing to bet he does.
with the boys at this point, yeah, okay, he may be on some people's radars, but his top acting was not in the boys. He did a hell of a performance, but he's had scenes in Supernatural that were
I
way not necessarily
guarantee you
better,
he
but
knows.
showcased his talents more.
Crazy.
And think about it a year ago. What did you think Supernatural was? Like Supernatural, if you haven't actually seen
A
it, you
very good
don't.
TV show, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. We have recorded evidence of you making
I
fun of
don't
it.
know. No, you don't. No. Some would say it's the greatest TV show. Many would say it was the greatest television
I would
show.
say it was. Yeah. So, well, maybe James Gunn needs to just watch 15 seasons of Supernatural and then
I
I'll cast
bet
him
you
as
he
Batman.
has. I don't know. With all his free time, he probably doesn't
All
have.
his free time. There you go. So, what have you been reading or watching this week?
Oh boy, do I have a laundry list. Well, I didn't watch the new Doctor Who yet. I didn't even realize Doctor Who series 2 was out yet, and Carrie's in DC, so I have to wait for her. So I will watch it next week and probably watch number 3 next week too. So we'll talk about all three
Sounds
together.
good.
But I did read a few things for Nerd Initiative that I reviewed. So first of all, I did Kill Your Darlings number 3 from Ethan S. Parker and Griffin Sheridan and John J. Hill and Robert Quinn. It's for Image Comics. It starts off like this. This is a very like imaginative adventure story, but it's also dark at the same time. And I talked about it previously when I did issue 1 on the show. Issue 3 kind of starts off with a so what they do in this, they pretty much start the comic with like a flashback sequence that ties into the overarching story at some point. And this one particularly was a monster eating a baby. And I was like,
Ugh.
wow, they really went for this. Like, I was kind of shocked.
Lilith.
Yeah. And afterwards, it turns into like this fun, just adventure of Wallace, the imaginary elephant, and Elliot and Rose, and they go into the sanctuary, which is like the imaginative world, and it's very bright colored. It's very much like you dream in your head as a kid of all these stuffed animals and their army, and so it's very tonal shift, but it works. It's very cool because it makes you forget all about that, and it's a really really cool. Something deeper is happening. Something darker is happening. All the color is being sucked out and drained from this land, and Rose has to help them stop it is essentially what's going to be happening. So read that. I read Stuff of Nightmares, Sleigh Ride, which is an R.L. Stine book. It's
Is that a comic or a book?
it's a comic. And
Okay.
it's a one-off. And basically there's this Bruce Wayne-esque character who like is all about night. He like controls nightmares, and he's reading you the story of this guy who seems like he has schizophrenia almost, and he's a mall Santa who gets fired. They don't need him anymore. And he's like, but the kids. And he goes on like this spree of stealing stuff and murdering people who don't believe in the Santa. And it's a very tongue-in-cheek R.L. Stine kind of novel because there's a tragic ending for our dear murderous Santa Claus in the end. And it's always like an R.L. Stine, like what am I trying to say here? It's
Goosebumpy.
well, no, there's always like a lesson to
Twist.
be learned at the end, right? And so he kind of has that. It's very tongue in cheek, but it's a really cool Christmas horror comic book. So I would recommend checking that out. I read Thunderbolts from our friends Jackson and Kelly, Colin Kelly, that
That's
is.
on my. I'm gonna go grab that tomorrow. Logan stayed home from school today.
Yeah, it's cool.
So
So it's got, Bucky's leading the charge on this. Red Skull is in it, and it's got a couple like Red Guardian is a part of this
yeah, I
crew.
feel
And
like they're intentionally bringing characters we're going to see together in the
I
MCU.
definitely got that was exactly what was going through my brain. It's like, okay, they're setting us up for the MCU Thunderbolts, and this is kind of their job here, which is freaking rad. I couldn't have thought of two better comic book writers to do so with. So that's out now from Marvel. I did read Transformers issue number 3. It's very much, from Daniel Warren Johnson. It's a good book. It's introducing the G.I. Joe universe. It's got the stupidity of humans, but Optimus Prime, there's a panel where he just rips his arm off after in this fight, and he beats one of the Decepticons with his broken off arm, and it's very badass. And there's a lot of wrestling love in there because Daniel Warren Johnson is a big wrestling fan. So there
Mm,
are some moments of Optimus Prime pile driving another Decepticon, and it's chaos, it's battle. It's a really good comic book.
pile
So I
driving.
definitely
I thought that
recommend
was a
that.
sexual position.
I mean, it could be, I don't know.
Oh, that's how I've always heard it
I'm gonna
used,
pile
but
drive
I'm not a
you. I don't know.
wrestler.
It's a wrestling move. That much I know.
Hmm.
You can see where my priorities lie. But I watched Elf, of course. And then I watched 2 movies. Number 1, I paid $5 to watch Mean One on Amazon Prime.
I like how you're mentioning this now and you're not saving it for the horror section.
Oh,
That's how
oh,
bad it
yeah.
was.
Okay. No, I will. I'm gonna save this. All right, you're right. You're
Oh
right.
no, that's fine.
No, we're gonna
I know you
cliffhanger
didn't
this
like
one.
it,
We're gonna put
so
it.
I figured you were
Yeah, stick
intentionally not
around,
putting it
folks.
there.
Stick around, folks. Go. We'll talk about this one, the Christmas
Matt's
horror.
gonna
Then
save you
I'm
$5.
gonna put a pin on this and save you $5. Now
Brielle tried to rent it the other day. I wouldn't let her.
we'll get to
Good.
that.
I'm glad.
Now
He just shook his head. No.
the other movie that I watched, I took Oliver on his birthday, and I was very impressed. He's 8 years old, and the movie's entirely in subtitles. It's Japanese. It's Godzilla minus one.
Oh
He
wow, I
followed
didn't
along
realize
with the
in
entire movie.
subtitles.
Well, yeah, it's made, it's a Japanese movie. It only cost $15 million to make, very impressively. And he followed
Cool.
along with it. I was very impressed. I was like, damn, for an 8-year-old, good on you, kid. His first subtitled movie. But that said,
That's impressive for an adult.
yeah, that's fair.
I
A lot
stopped
of
watching Squid Game
I
because I
did tell
didn't want to
somebody
do
that this
that.
movie's entirely in subtitles. Like, oh, I don't want to read a movie. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
I
Get over
just,
it.
yeah,
Like,
with Squid Game, I didn't like the mouth not adding up with the subtitles,
it
which
doesn't
also
bother
didn't
me.
add up with the dub.
It does not bother me. This movie's good. This is easily a top 5 movie of the year for me.
Nice.
Holy shit, was this good? Like, for everybody out there who complains about there's no characters, there's no story, it's just Godzilla and he's fighting, and it's no, this has character. It takes place, not long after World War II in Japan. This kamikaze pilot comes home. He's kind of disgraced, and he's rebuilding his life. He's got this girl who there's these bombings of Tokyo and everything, and she just kind of found this baby, and they all live together and just kind of live there. And he gets a job going out there searching for mines in the water, and Godzilla's on the loose. They kind of have some, of
God,
course,
he's
right?
always on the
He's heading to
loose.
Tokyo, man, and it's very much Godzilla's a freaking menace. His power, his atomic breath is insane. He destroys the shit out of Tokyo and Ginzin, and the way that they kind of wrap everything up was really clever. The characters you really cared about. There's a lot of really big emotional beats. It was only a 2-hour movie. Didn't feel like it drug at any point. It was very much character driven, emotional. But when Godzilla was on screen, man, he was a force. And they even played the classic Godzilla music for this movie a couple times. And it was just a really good movie. I can't speak enough about how Godzilla minus one is in my top 5 movies of the year, which we'll have to rank movies here soon. And
Maybe we'll do that on our Christmas special.
yeah, maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that. But that's pretty much what I've been reading, watching. And what about you?
So I did watch the new Doctor Who, so I'm looking forward to talking that with you. But I think next week, I think is the last one. I think is going to be the big one. The
Yes.
only spoiler I would say is we still haven't seen Neil Patrick Harris, so he's definitely
I
got to be
keep
in the third
forgetting
one if
he's
we
in
haven't
it.
seen him yet. Well, and well, we probably should have done this ahead of time. I didn't even think about that. Maybe I'll do it for the next episode a little bit, where because next week we're going to talk Elf. So maybe I can do a little history on. I believe it's the Toy Maker is the character he's playing, and he hasn't been seen since pre Ninth Doctor, pre Christopher
Oh,
Ecclesian. I always try to just say nine because I can never say his last name.
Christopher Eccleston.
Eccleston. Why can I never say that? I always want to
I
say
don't know.
Ecclesian. I don't know. So I did watch that. Of course, I'm still loving it. I mean, who doesn't love Donna and the 10th Doctor?
David Tennant.
So the comics I reviewed this week for Nerd Initiative, one was the Midnite Show #3. I've talked about this one before. It is the one where the monsters basically come to life and they bust through the screen in like a blazing saddle sort of way, and they're like attacking the people who were there to see the horror movie, but they're twists on all the monsters. So they're not like the Frankenstein's monster that you know. What happened was Dr. Frankenstein actually put his brain into Frankenstein's monster's body. So now he actually is Frankenstein, not Frankenstein's monster. So there's little twists like that. But Dracula is trying to do the spell to become like the ultimate god of monsters. And these horror movie fans are trying to like fight it. But it's fun in a sense because as a horror movie fan, you always think like, I wouldn't run up the stairs. I wouldn't do that. Or that's not how you kill a werewolf. That's not how you do this. So it's fun to kind of see that. So that one I recommend. That one is by Cullen Bunn and Brian Hurt. And then the other one, which I know I've talked about, this has been one of my favorite comics this year. So you're probably going to hear about it on our 200th episode as well, is The Hunger and the Dusk. That is by G. Willow Wilson, if that name sounds familiar. She was part of the creation of Miss Marvel. And Christian Wildgoose is also on that. It is. That's the one about the orcs that like the artwork would have never gotten me in, but it's like orcs and
Yeah, I
humans like
remember you
trying
telling
to
me
come
about this. Yeah.
together. Yeah, to fight this other entity. But then there's constantly twists and turns. And then I'm just loving the main character so much. And I don't know where, I have no idea where it's going to go because they keep surprising me, but in good ways. And I love when you think something's about to be a trope and you're like, oh, here we go. And then it's not. And then
Oh
you're
yeah.
like, yes, you surprised me and you didn't follow the trope guideline. So those are the two things I read. I also did read a couple Thunderbolts comics this weekend, but I read old ones because I went on the Turn a Page Nerd Initiative podcast yesterday. And so we got to learn a little bit about the original characters, the original Thunderbolts. And if you are not familiar with that, I recommend either listening to that episode, which you can find on the Nerd Initiative podcast, or you can find on Ken's, well, you can find that on the Nerd Initiative YouTube or on Ken's podcast, which I always get it ODPH.
Yes, the ODPH
Okay, I
pod.
always get the acronym mixed up in my head. So the ODPH pod, it'll be on their podcast platform, or you can watch it on YouTube. Huge twist in that series. I did not see it coming. I was very surprised. I want to keep on reading it, but what I found very interesting is not a single one of the original Thunderbolts is listed as a character for the MCU movie Thunderbolts that we're going to get.
Ooh.
So none of them are original comic book ones. So I thought that was interesting. And then
Yeah.
I watched Candy Cane Lane with Eddie Murphy.
Oh, how was that? I haven't. That's on my list to watch with the kids.
So that's on Prime. Everybody fell asleep about 10 minutes in except me because Kaylee
Oh
doesn't live here
man.
anymore. So nobody else stays up to watch the movies with me. The Dubins all passed right out. It was cute. It was funny. It was cheesy, but it didn't take itself
Well, it
seriously.
doesn't look like it's one of those like very serious kind of movies.
No. They did a great job though. I thought it was very enjoyable. And Brielle, though, the next morning, I was like, oh, are you going to put the movie on and finish it? She goes, well, did they keep making jokes for like the grown-ups or did it start to actually get
Oh
funny?
Jesus.
So I thought Eddie Murphy was being funny, but I guess he was referencing too many things that went over her head or she did not find funny. So
Kids are so
there you
hard
go
to
for that one.
please these days. Tell
But it's
me
on
what.
Prime. I thought it was a lot of fun. I think it's worth checking out, especially if you have Prime and you don't have to pay anything for it or anything extra. And the other movie I watched was The Lodge.
Oh,
This
what's that?
is a Christmas horror, but I did not rank it in my top five. It looks like a ghost story, but it's very creepy. That one is on HBO Max, and I won't just say Max. That's just so stupid. So it's on
Stupid.
HBO Max, and it's this woman who is like dating this guy who has these kids, and the kids don't like her, but she was trying to bond with them during Christmas time at this cabin in the woods while their dad goes to work for a couple days. And then you think there's like ghosts coming. I really don't want to say much because the twist was the only thing that made the movie good, but it's very drawn out and slow. But I did
Ah,
not
man.
see what was coming. This woman has trauma from when she was a child because she was being raised in like a religious cult, and then they all like killed themselves one day and left her as the only survivor.
Oh,
So she has a lot of PTSD, and she's dealing with that, and she's on like some sort of medication. We don't know exactly what it is. So there's a lot of stuff going
yeah.
on, and then you find out what all of it is at the end. So I do like that they wrap it all up with a bow and you find out exactly what the reality was at the end, which you don't know until then.
Huh. I like
And that's
that. I like
called The
that premise. That's
Lodge.
a solid premise. Yeah. I haven't watched any
Alicia
Hallmark this week.
Silverstone was in it the first 5 minutes and I'm like, holy shit, and
Oh
then that was
God, I
it.
love her.
I love her too. So
And
does
that was
Josh.
it.
We were
That's
very sad
disappointing.
when she stopped being in it.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I didn't watch any Hallmark this week. Surprise! I
Oh
have to
no.
wait till Carrie gets back. We can't watch one without. You're lucky. Everyone here is lucky. No, no Hallmark this week for this guy. Let's roll into some news though. What do you have news wise?
Macaulay Culkin got a star on the Hollywood Walk of
He
Fame, and his
did.
not TV mom, movie mom, Catherine O'Hara, was there to see it. So I thought that was sweet.
It was very, very heartwarming, very touching because he's gone through a lot of crap in his life. And
I'm
so it was
surprised he didn't have
cool.
one, honestly.
I it did take him this long, but it's still nice to see. He and Brenda Song was there and his kids and one of his brothers were there and it was very cool.
Yeah. So the Ray Star Wars movie is set to start filming this April. I feel like that's sooner than I expected, but I guess
I'm
that makes
honestly
sense.
very surprised. Like I feel like we haven't heard even a single plot detail. It's about to start filming. We don't even know what the plot is, which is
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that. I guess I'm surprised it's actually happening in my head because in my head we didn't hear what a plot was, so there wasn't like every other Star Wars movie announced. I just figured it wasn't going to happen,
Hmm.
but we're actually going to get it, so I'm pretty excited.
I know it's like with Marvel, you keep hearing all these things, and then all these things aren't happening, and who the
Yeah,
hell knows
I
until
mean, we
they
gotta wait till
happen.
freaking 2025, which is going to be a massive year for movies, but still,
Yeah.
it's exciting.
There continues to be more news about the Deadpool casting coming out. I've kind of decided personally I want to
I'm
stop
out.
reporting on that.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds asked leakers to chill because there's more photographs that could be taken that he asks them to please not to keep the integrity of the movie, and I'm with that. I'm I'm tired of like opening Twitter every day and seeing a new Deadpool image. Like
But yeah, I'd
the
rather see it like be there in the moment and have it be
yeah, there's a
exciting.
character that Deadpool was photographed holding his head. Like, I don't want to see that stuff, man. Like, you're gonna just ruin the movie. And
Yeah,
there was
so
a
I'm gonna
yeah,
stop
so done.
listing rumors or any of that as news.
We're out.
Yep. So no news there. The only other piece of news is the Supernatural cast, even though the show has been off the air now for 3 years, which seems crazy already, they're still doing conventions constantly. There's a convention that they're doing in Nashville next weekend. Like they're all over the place regularly. And at one of the conventions, Jensen and Jared said that they have been in talks about future supernatural natural projects being planned.
Oh,
What that means, it could mean anything. Who the hell knows? I think it would be great to do some specials, do some fill-in stories, do some background. You don't have to
well,
change the
let's
ending,
don't put
even though
them on
I'd
the
be fine if you
CW.
change the
Let's
ending.
let's get them somewhere else that like I
Yes.
wouldn't
And
mind
then
more
you,
adult themed supernatural type stuff.
yes, we can get more of that
That
Jensen Peach
bloody.
maybe, or we can get
Oh
some
yeah, that's right. The
actual F
peaches.
bombs. Well, I mean, we got it on Prime. We've all seen it now.
That's
But
true.
you know, we can get some legit gore, not just the
Yeah,
splatter.
not the CW cheese. That network's dead for come on. CW's dead. So like if we get it straight to Max or Netflix or something,
Take it
that
to
even
Prime. I mean, they're already working with Kripke.
honestly, I'm curious to who has the rights, being that it was CW. But if Kripke can get that on Prime, I bet you that's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, I guess CW it would make more sense for it to go to HBO.
Yeah, but
But
again,
I
CW's dead.
mean, they did as much
Bury
as
it.
they could with the CW show, making it as creepy and as, you know, the
They
dick
still
jokes
did a
that they
great
made
job.
and
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the jokes that I mean, they made some very dirty comments. They just all had to be like subtle.
Yes. It's like Shrek.
So that's all I got. Like
Well,
Shrek.
I do have some news. So Peter Cullen will be at MegaCon as well as Will, Mike, and Dustin from Stranger Things, and of course Eddie Munson will also be at MegaCon. We should be there. Still waiting to hear if we are going to have a panel or press passes or anything. Hopefully they announce that
Probably
here
won't know till like 2 days
soon.
before.
Yeah. If they could just let us know, that'd be cool. But The Last of Us 2 will not be out until 2025. No surprise there, considering they haven't even started to film it yet. Taylor Swift, Time Person of the Year. Couldn't have happened to a nicer gal, I guess. Which, yeah, I'm okay. I don't really, the Time Person of the Year doesn't mean anything to me. I'll be honest with you. I don't feel any sort of way. I like Taylor Swift's music. I'm kind of Taylor Swifted out from how much coverage she's always getting because maybe if she could use her powers for good, like take on Live Nation, Ticketmaster, she kind of used her powers for good to get people out and vote. See more of that, then that's cool. But otherwise, like, I don't really know what does Time Person of the Year even mean anymore, I guess. I'm just an
I
old
have no
man. What
idea.
do I
I
know?
have
I'm an old
no
man
idea.
ranting to the clouds. No idea.
Those old who reads magazines anymore?
Time? The only thing I'm timing is my run when I can. Now, my last bit of news, we don't really have kind of a light news day, is that
Yeah.
A24 has signed a deal with Warner Brothers to stream exclusively on Max after their theatrical runs, which is going to bring more revenue to A24, which is going to give us better movies. And yeah, that's pretty exciting. Just be careful, A24. Max likes to cancel movies and lock them up so nobody can be seen. So be wary with those whom you lay in bed with.
Well, hopefully they stopped doing that after they started getting called out.
Come on. They're so tone deaf. You know it's not going to change anything.
That is crazy.
It's the
Yeah.
people who are wrong. I don't know, man. I got nothing for you. So that was it for the news. We're going to go ahead, roll into our main topic, a little bit of Christmas horror with a spotlight today on the Violent Night film. We shall return in just a moment. Welcome back. we're back. Like I said, we're talking Violent Night, some horror movies. We got a top 5 list. Lauren has a top 5 list. Mine's more like a top 3 list, I guess, if I really had to be honest with you. I don't know. I guess I just haven't watched as many horror
Definitely
movies
watch more
around
than me.
Christmas. But I guess they haven't really been Christmas horror. I guess I watch a lot of horror, but when it comes to Christmas, I don't know. It's weird. Anyways, let's chat. So let's talk about Mean One real quick. It's a horror movie.
Yes.
Came out
So
in
this is your
2022.
bottom of the barrel horror movie.
It's right there with Pooh, Blood, and Honey, and the fact that like me, I love B-rated horror. I was excited. I was like, this one could be redeeming. Oh boy, was I wrong. It wasn't even in like the trailer makes it seem like Cindy Lou Who and the Grinch are going toe to toe and really fighting. They fight for 5 minutes, maybe in an hour and a half movie. It's they must not have the rights to legally say Grinch because when they're about to say it in the movie, they pretty much scream over it so that way they don't
It's like
say
a
the
curse
Grinch.
word.
Yeah. And then they call him Mean One. And then he never actually talks in this movie, but his mannerisms, it's like they try to make him like Jim Carrey's Grinch.
Ah.
Yeah, but he never actually talks. And the Grinch basically accidentally kills Cindy Lou Who's mom as a kid. They go and live in Newville or whatever it is, and
Instead of
they don't
Whoville.
like Cindy Lou Who, but it's this campy love story between her and the sheriff, and then the Grinch is just popping up randomly with no rhyme or reason to kill people, and the kills aren't even good. They're just kind of there for reasons, I guess.
And we
And
all know that you can do a lot of fun killing with Christmas stuff.
they're not even like creative, inventive. It's just like I'm gonna stab you with this candy cane, or I'm just gonna kill you. Like there's nothing and nothing inventive at all. Nothing that's like, oh, that was kind of clever to think about. No, they just throw kills in just because they feel like they have to. And then Cindy Lou Who trains for all of 5 minutes on how to shoot a gun, and then she fights the Grinch for 2 seconds, and then she decides not to kill the Grinch because she remembers that he was accidentally killed her mom and was terrified and sad at the thought, and that turned him to a mean one, and then his heart grows 3 sizes, and it's bad. It's not even redeeming. There is nothing redeeming about this piece of trash movie. Like if we're gonna make movies that are B-rated and campy, make them fun. Pooh,
Right.
Blood, and Honey and Mean One weren't even fun. They have no reason to exist. There is no rhyme. There is no reason to these movies being made. It's pointless. It's trash. You're trying to cash in on the fucking properties, and you don't even put 2 seconds of thought into the script. Come on, people.
So
Fucking
I just
lazy.
looked it up. A character is protected for the entire length of the creator's life plus 70 years. Dr. Seuss died in 1991, so he's only been gone for 30 years, so they can't do anything for another 40 years, unless, of course, I'm sure there's some things like the family can probably sell the rights and everything. The only trademark and copyright law I know, I was a 2 credit class I took in law school. So everything else I'd have to look up if anybody wanted to know more.
Wow.
But Winnie the Pooh, I was glad that movie was bad. Like, and I'm glad Grinch was bad too, because these
But they're
are,
making
although
a
the
sequel to
Grinch horror
Pooh.
aspect actually sounds like it could be good. That could be decent.
There's a very good movie hidden in that Grinch.
Yes.
Like
Pooh Bear,
the
no.
like the Grinch could, his whole thing is he hates Christmas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So have your little Who's down there doing their Christmas stuff. The Grinch hates it from up on high. He comes down there. He starts killing people. He's slowly stalking them. He's murdering them. They don't know who it is. Cindy Lou Who, you can have her
Who?
be a teenager, maybe. She fights him. Like it's very Final Girl esque. Like you could have legitimately made it quality. Instead, it's just
Like he takes all
no.
their stuff and murders them.
Yeah, like he's stealing stuff, he's murdering them, and then he gets to Cindy Lou's house, and it's kind of like a Final Girl type thing where you could even have her escape his murderous rampage the year before, and every year the Grinch comes down and people like shut her up or something if you really wanted to go that route.
Oh, yeah.
Like you could, and so maybe she prepares for the next year after this murderous
This
rampage.
year she's going to get him. She
Yeah,
sets
she's
traps like
gonna get her
really close.
revenge, and she fights the Grinch and kills him or something. But this was none of those things.
Yeah.
It
But
was
the people
very
who did Blood
lazy.
and Honey, they can go fuck themselves.
Yeah, the people who did Blue and Blood, like, come on, you've pissed me off, and you're making a sequel? No,
I
no.
refuse to watch that
Again,
garbage.
you know how I feel about terrible horror movies, and no, just no.
No fuck with Pooh Bear, man. What, he didn't do anything to anybody.
Just, just garbage. Just
Just want to
garbage.
eat honey and hang out with his friends.
Yeah. Well, let's go into some top 5. So My number one, we're gonna talk Christmas horror real quick, a little bit, and then we'll go into Violent Night. So, in no particular order, I'm just gonna kind of
Violent
go
Night's
back
my
and
number
forth.
one.
We'll trade off. There's no particular order
That
for
is
me.
the
But
only thing I have in
is
order, though.
Violent Night's not a horror movie though?
It's only horror if you're a bad guy.
Yeah, but it's
It's
an
only
action
horror if you're
movie.
on the naughty list.
I haven't seen that new one with Justin Long yet, so I couldn't put that in this, and I really want to watch that movie. I just haven't had
Which one
time
is
yet.
he in?
It's a Wonderful Knife.
Oh, that's right. It's Wonderful Knife. Is that going to traumatize me? I don't know.
I hope so. I don't know.
Thank you for that.
Yes. So I will go ahead and I only have three listed because I couldn't think of five. I guess I just don't watch, but
Well, one
I
I think
did.
we both have.
Which one? It's Krampus.
Krampus.
So we both, no particular order again. Krampus. Krampus is on our list. Let's talk about it. What do you got? What do you got? Some fun facts about Krampus?
I only did a couple fun facts because we did do, like we mentioned last week, we did a whole episode on Krampus last year. So we did talk a little bit more about the movie last year. So the visible breath and the cold exteriors was actually done digitally. I thought this was kind of cool and worth mentioning because obviously you see the people with their breath. So to do that, they had real people breathing in freezers, reading the dialogue for the scenes that weren't the actual actors. And then they put that breath, they isolated that breath and added it optically into the shots. So I thought that was kind of cool. You see all these little
That's cool.
details that you don't
Yeah.
even think about. This is a fun fact referencing last week's episode. So many of Krampus's minions in this movie are real Christmas or winter folk figures in European culture, such as the Yule goat, which is Scandinavian, and then the creatures with Icelandic names, which I'm not even going to try to say, are named after the Icelandic Yule lads, which we mentioned last week, and they're said to visit the homes each of the 13 nights before Christmas. So I thought that was cool. I didn't realize that some of the little other random monsters were
Interesting.
the
Yeah.
Yule lads.
I didn't either.
And the last fun fact, I know that we did mention this last year because I remember when I learned this. So the guy who did this movie also did the movie Trick or Treat, which we've talked about, fantastic Halloween movie. So Max, who's the little kid in Krampus, he goes into his Halloween stash to like get candy to like comfort his cousins because they're all scared. And you actually see the lollipop that the Sam kid uses as a weapon in Trick or Treat. So I think that's really cool. And if you
That's
do want to
cool.
watch this movie, it is on Peacock or it can be rented in many places.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's got a pretty cool cast. I thought that the kills were clever. Like Krampus comes in. The grandma basically was going ahead and making them like, hey, you're gonna pay because everybody's at each other's throats. So that was something cool. And it's got our boy, my name is Derek and I can sing high, from Step Brothers. He's been in Parks and Rec. He was in the movie. All in all, though, Krampus for me is a pretty solid horror movie. We finally get a Krampus in action because there's crappy Krampus movies made, but this one, they're cutting a snowstorm, power goes out, the little elves make deaths, and then Krampus gets
It's
his
such a
last
pretty
laugh.
house,
And
too.
it is, but a shitty family again. And the grandma tried to warn him, man. She tried to warn him. So
And
that's
it's a pretty decent cast.
it does. So that's when I have Black Christmas on my list, which there is an 80s version of the Black Christmas, and then there's also like
Actually, I
an
think it's the
early
70s.
it's 70s. You're right. You're right. I said 80s. It was 70s. And then they remade it in the 2000s. And I don't really prefer one over the other. They're kind of just obviously I guess I would say the newer one because sometimes newer is better and the older ones can be kind of cheesy and whatnot, but they're pretty much the same movie. Now, it actually gained a cult following and is notable for being one of the earliest slasher films made. It went on to inspire other slasher films, such as John Carpenter's Halloween, which was actually inspired by Clark suggesting what a Black Christmas sequel would look like. It's,
Which makes sense. They should do an
yeah,
Easter one now.
I do love a good slasher that takes place around Christmas time, just for like holidays, right? Like Halloween's played out. Let's get these slashers around Christmas. Let's get these slashers that take place around
You're
Easter,
seeing it
and
more. Yeah,
yeah,
Krampus is getting celebrated more. Like Halloween is bleeding into Christmas more. And I'm all
I'm
for
for
it
it.
because I've
Yeah.
been doing it for decades now with my fucking homemade nightmare decorations. Now it's
But Nightmare's not a horror
all over the place. No,
movie.
it's not, but it's a Halloween, is what I'm saying. Like Halloween bleeding into Christmas. Like I still have pumpkins out because they go with my nightmare decor.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Now, what
I
is
did
a one
watch
for you?
the new one. I didn't. Is this the one with the sorority girls, right?
Yeah. It's a slasher, right? It's not something that's gonna break the mold, but it's a slasher.
I do remember there being some decent kills in it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some pretty cool ones. That's what, again, it's Christmas. You can do a lot of things as far as murders go, man.
I know. Christmas decorations are so dangerous.
Yes. What's a horror movie on your list?
So one of the ones I have is Santa Jaws. So last year I watched a bunch of random Christmas horror because we were going on the For Nerds by Nerds podcast to do Jeopardy, and one of the
Yeah.
categories was Christmas horror, and I had never seen a single Christmas horror movie except for Krampus. So I watched a bunch of these last year, and one I came across was Santa Jaws. It came out in 2018.
Oh
It is
God, yeah.
campy nonsense. It is full of shark puns, as evidenced by the name. So if you want something festive to watch while you're like half paying attention and like wrapping presents or something, this is that movie. And if the kids happen to walk by or walk in, hopefully not when you're wrapping their presents, they won't be traumatized. They'll just be confused as to why a candy cane is sticking out of Jaws's nose. It's just so absurd, so absurd. But it's making fun of itself at an extent. I forget, somebody put a review on IMDb that I thought was like perfect, but it's so stupid. It's fun, and that's on Prime.
Again, that's the kind of the move that if you're making stupid, fun B-rated horror movies, that's one right there. Santa
Yeah.
Jaws, man. I've seen that
Well,
one.
it's
I have seen that one.
either it's don't take yourself seriously, but at the same time, don't don't make fun of the project. It's like they said Sharknado, like Ian, the
Yeah.
main guy in Sharknado said, he goes, we take it seriously. And I think that's what helps make it work. So the actors have to take it seriously, but the movie can't take itself seriously.
Well, again,
If that
that
makes
does
any
work.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It does. It does make sense. My number three, this one spawned 5 total movies in the series. It's the 1984 film Silent Night, Deadly Night.
It's another one we
Now,
tried to watch last year. Oof.
yeah, after seeing his parents murdered in front of him, a young boy spends most of his life in an orphanage where he is abused by the mother superior. When he becomes a teenager, he gets a job as a toy store Santa. When seeing 2 people having sex in the store brings on flashbacks of his parents, his turmoil leads him
That's
to
weird.
become a Santa serial killer. I'm a little confused how 2 people banging reminds you of your parents dying
I mean, I get
by
that's how we were
Santa.
all brought into the world, but
I got questions
wow.
for this man. Interesting.
Therapist has them
Now,
too.
one of the taglines for this film, according to IMDb, all these are going to be from IMDb. You've made it through Halloween. Now try and survive Christmas.
Dun dun dun.
And there's an alternate version of this where the theatrical version was actually cut for pacing and gore, which the latter obtains an R rating. And now, a little bit of trivia. The release of this film was actually picketed by angry parents who were not happy to see Santa Claus depicted as an axe murderer, despite the fact that Tales from the Crypt in 1972 had done the exact same thing. And also, Christmas Evil from 1980 did the same thing in 1980. As a result, box office receipts plummeted once the film was pulled from theaters. After barely 2 weeks, the film was shelved for another year when it was released on VHS uncut, and it has since gone out of print. And another
Ridiculous.
little bit is a goof, I guess. IMDb has a little goof about it at around 8 minutes. The convenience store that is held up by the man in the Santa suit isn't modified from its 1984 look at all to fit the look of a store from 71. When this part of the film takes place, this is most noticed when reading the price signs, which advertises prices that are too high for the time period. The poster in the doorway advertises a 6-pack of Pepsi cans for $1.99, which is over 3 times more than it would have been in 71. And the sign above the checkout counter advertises $1 ice bags. Also, the Visa and MasterCard logo stickers in the windows have the 1980s logo. MasterCard was actually Master Charge until 1979, and
Oh, I
Visa
didn't know that.
was Bank Americard until 1976.
So did MasterCard used to be a charge card? I did not know.
Yeah, I guess so. It's not
Who
the
knew?
best movie. It's one of those really kind of campy whatever ones. There is
I feel
another
like the main guy
movie.
couldn't act, and
No,
that
oh
bothered
God,
me.
no, at all. No, God, the acting was terrible.
His acting was up there with the main guy from Highlander, which he's not a good actor.
Now, here's a movie that I did want to see, so I'm going to put it on my list actually because I do want to watch it, and it looked good. It's called Better Watch Out. I haven't
I watched
watched it
that.
yet. I want to watch it. So the storyline is when you think suburbs, you think safety, but this holiday night in the suburbs are anything but safe. Ashley thought this babysitting job would be an easy night, But the night takes a turn when dangerous intruders break in and terrorize her and Luke, the 12-year-old she's watching. Ashley defends
She'll be
herself.
13 next week.
Ashley defends her charge to the best of her ability, only to discover this is no normal home invasion. Now, despite
I watched that this weekend.
Oh, did you? Is it good?
I liked it. Yeah. So it came out in 2016. It has a crazy ass twist I did not see coming. So I really don't want to say much about it because the twist kind of happens a little early on,
Okay.
but it doesn't. The rest of the movie is still good. You still don't know what's going to happen.
Okay.
So I look forward to hearing your thoughts about it after you watch it.
I actually think I'm going to watch it tonight after the recording this podcast.
So my one complaint, the dad at the beginning is Putty from Seinfeld, or he does the
Right.
Soren ride, he does a million voiceovers and he's the dad, but he's just not in it enough. And I love that guy. He's hilarious. But yeah, it was good. And again, with the Christmas stuff, it's not about Christmas, but the whole house is decorated for Christmas. And that's I'm not
Well, I
gonna
guess
say
that's
anything
one we
else.
both have on our list. Now, what is one more on your list that I don't have then?
The last one on my list is Christmas Horror Story. So I did talk about this one last year. When I was watching all these
I still
Christmas
haven't
horror
watched
movies,
this one either. Damn.
this one I really liked. This I would say is probably my favorite horror movie, if we're not counting Violent Night as a horror movie, because it's fun and it's spooky and it's an anthology type movie where things weave together. But I mean, you have Santa in it, you have Krampus, you have zombie elves, you have a changeling, you have William Shatner, and you have an unexpected twist again. I guess I really like when movies blow my mind.
No, I've seen parts of this because I remember William.
I was gonna say, I feel like you had
radio
seen it.
DJ.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know what this is.
Yeah, I thought this was really cool
for some reason.
And Santa and Krampus fight, and it's a really cool scene.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my god. Yes. Okay. This reminds me. I did watch another movie a long time ago. It features Santa and Krampus fighting, but it's its own separate legit movie. I think it was like Bill Goldberg from wrestling was the Santa Claus, and he fought there was like chain. It was ridiculous, but I do remember this one.
But some of the lore says that Krampus is Santa's evil brother. I learned that from Supernatural though, so I don't know if that's Supernatural lore or real lore. But if you want to watch that, it's on Tubi, Peacock, Pluto, and a lot of other free places. Oh no, that's for Better Watch Out. Christmas Horror Stories on Tubi, YouTube, AMC, or you can rent it.
Huh. Well, look at that. Yeah, so let's roll into some Violent Night, which is our spotlight movie of the week. Now, spoilers. I'm just going to tell you right now, we're going to talk spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, go ahead. You can rent it on Apple. You can rent it on YouTube, or you can, it's currently on Prime.
Probably rent it at Redbox at this point.
People still use Redbox?
I don't know. I went to go pick up pictures at Walgreens and Redbox was still out there.
I don't see them anymore like I used to. I don't think I've seen a Redbox in a couple of years now. So maybe.
I mean, they're still cheaper.
Well, yeah, it's $1 for a movie. Yeah. Or is inflation got them? Is it $3?
I have no idea. I was just like, oh, wow, the Redbox is still there. And I went inside and got my pictures.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you rented for good old time's sake, but no.
I saw Barbie in there, and it was like for a while to rent Barbie was $25. So I don't know if Redbox is cheaper.
Woof.
I think Barbie's going to be on HBO soon.
Barbie's on Plex if you're me. So
we got it from my brother-in-law. Well, I mean, after
whatever, dude. All right. Anyway, spoilers. So Violent Night came out last year in 2022. It premiered at New York City Comic Con. It stars David Harbour as Santa Claus, John Leguizamo as Scrooge, Beverly D'Angelo as Alex Hassel, who also plays Lucy.
Yeah, Beverly D'Angelo, who she's the mom from Christmas Vacation.
You're right. I'm sorry. Alex Hassel
plays the mom / grandma. She's the matriarch of the family.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Alex Hassel is the dad, and he's translucent from The Boys.
Okay.
So this is what he looks like with clothes on, guys.
Well, hit us with your 4 degrees of Supernatural then.
So the robber Krampus was in season 1 of Supernatural. He is the psychic kid Max who kills his dad and his uncle and almost kills his stepmom because the dad and uncle abused him his whole life and his stepmom did nothing.
That's crazy.
Do you remember that episode where they had like the knife to the lady's eye?
Yeah, I do remember that one. I do. That's crazy. Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he was also in Werewolf from Fever Swamp, Goosebumps. He's been in a ton of stuff.
Yeah, when I went to his IMDb page, it was like
Like a
a
bunch of
because I
like
didn't remember what
one-off
his name
TV
was.
shows. Yeah, I don't remember his name, but yeah, no, he was the funniest character. He knew what movie he was in this movie.
Yeah.
He 100% acted his ass off in this movie. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And when the dad's like, there is no you know who, and he's like, oh man, you really just did that.
Yeah.
He's like ready to literally like kill this guy in front of his daughter. And then he's like, damn, dude, I wouldn't have done that.
He's like, well, that's even too far for me. And no, he
Hmm.
was really campy in this movie, and he knew what he was in. And he's always played like a pretty decent actor. Like I said, he was in like Werewolf of Fever Swamp. He's in a ton of stuff.
Even in Supernatural, like, I mean, one
Yeah,
episode, minor character, so to speak, even though the episode was kind of based around him. But I mean, like, he's crying in the movie. He's very conflicted. Like, he did a, fantastic job,
I
I think.
I think so too. Like it's kind of a shame that some people that do decently, the small sample sizes, they don't go on to do more. But hey, maybe he's comfortable in life. I don't know. Now,
Yeah.
this movie surprisingly only got 6.7 out of 10 stars on IMDb.
I saw that. I was
For
very
me,
surprised.
this movie's great.
I think some people just don't like the idea of, like you were saying before, with the Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Santa
Um,
shouldn't be murdering people.
yeah.
Fuck that. Give me my Santa eating cookies, drinking bourbon, and beating the shit out of some mercenaries.
Like, he's an adult too, guys. Come
Santa's got to blow
on.
off steam. If you don't think Santa's up there doing blow in between his runs, how else do you think Santa's going around the world in one night? It's not the milk you stupid kids leave out. That's like fucking prune milk.
Did you ever watch
Santa's
that
fucking doing
dumbass?
cocaine, man.
Did you see that stupid cartoon animation? It was like a claymation cartoon thingy on HBO with like Seth Rogen, and they were giving the reindeers like Coke or something. It
No,
was so
but I'm telling you, how do you
stupid.
think Rudolph? Yeah, no, that Santa's doing lines in between. All right. If
I forgot
you
I watched that
go
last year. It was so
downstairs
not
Christmas
good.
morning and there's some white powdery substance on your kids' gifts, guarantee you.
Parents are making magic snow. It's not magic snow,
That
kids.
reindeer food you leave out for the reindeer, yeah, parents are cutting up pills and giving it to them. All right. So, surprise.
Ugh.
Anyways, the plot of this movie is that Santa is over the nonsense of kids being spoiled little shits. He's barely believing in Christmas himself, which impacts his magic. After getting trashed at a bar, throwing up over the sleigh, he continues his Santa duties until he comes across a home invasion, and a nice little girl who is actually on the nice list asks for help. You laugh, you cry, you turn your head in utter disgust. It's a great Christmas movie for the whole family above a certain age now. Come on, I'm not going to let my 8 and 5-year-old watch it. But if you got teenage kids, yeah, great movie. It's been described as Home Alone meets Die Hard, and both are mentioned with many nods. Santa even pulls the Die Hard DVD out of his sack. Yes, this movie's great. It like we've talked about, David Harbour as Santa Claus, absolutely excellent. And if you don't remember Beverly D'Angelo, she was in the Vacation movies, Christmas Vacation.
She's not,
That's
yeah.
her.
Mrs.
Yes.
Griswold. She was also in Entourage. Her
Oh,
and
yes,
Ari
she
used to
was.
always, yeah.
Now,
I always loved how she talked to Ari.
our friend Brendan Fletcher, a couple things that he's been in: Fargo. He was the Gun World clerk, Billy the Kid as George Coe, Joe Pickett, The Last of Us. He was actually in The Last of Us briefly as
Oh
Robert.
yeah, I remember
Yep.
that. He died right away.
He
Because
was.
I
He was
remember
in
being like, oh, that's a kid from Supernatural.
Superman and Lois. He was in Arrow. So he's been in a ton of stuff. And all in all, man, this movie did for me. I watched it the second it was available to watch. I think actually, maybe I lied. I think I watched it on Plex. My brother put it on Plex the second I can get it.
We
'Cause I
watched
don't
it
think
after Christmas.
this wasn't in theaters, was it?
It might have been. I don't know. If it was, I didn't see it in
Actually,
theaters.
if it was in theaters, I feel like I saw this in theaters because Carrie and I are like, this is the top of our list. I'm 99% sure we caught this in theaters.
I think we rented it after Christmas, but like our tree was still up because I think that after that they put it for like renting. I know I watched it
came
at
out,
home.
Yeah, you watched it after I did.
Yeah. Yeah, but I remember you raving about it.
Yeah, it came out on in theaters exclusively on December 2nd. And then it started streaming on Peacock January 20th. I did see this in
January
theaters.
20th? Oh, maybe we got it illegally.
So Carrie and I actually went and saw this in theaters, and it's got a 74% on Rotten Tomatoes. But yeah, we saw it in theaters because I remember I was raving about it to you afterwards.
It's such a good movie. Yeah.
It's so good. So why don't you go ahead and hit us with your fun facts before we go into a little bit more of our thoughts?
So I can't even touch on every single Easter egg or fun fact. I'm sure there's a
so
video
many.
out there doing it, but yeah, it is just littered with like Christmas nostalgia. So the logo on the catering company van is called Farkas and Dill, and that is after the bullies in A Christmas Story.
Yes.
The security guard is named Al, just like the cop in Die Hard, the guy from Family
Yeah.
Matters. In a 2022 interview, Tommy Wirkola spoke about referencing Home Alone, and he said, quote, obviously, when I was a kid, I loved Home Alone. But as you get older, you think, oh, they would die. And if you did those things to them, they would die. So that was
I
basically
mean,
the
they took
approach to the
bricks to the
scene.
face.
Yeah. All right. Let's just do traps very similar to Home Alone and let's just see what it does to a human being. And I think what makes it so funny as well is that the little girl doesn't realize she's hurting them.
Okay.
She just thinks she's doing like
Yes.
the movie.
Now, we both talked about this, the little girl with the
End quote.
bowling ball and everything like that.
Yeah.
She was going ruthless on that. And she put it was the bowling ball when she put down the attic and it dropped down the stairs and hit the one dude in the face. And then the girl went up there and like got blasted by him. Oh, man.
But she even like put the nail. It was all straight out of Home Alone, like cutting
It really was.
the
Yeah.
staircase. Yeah. So I feel like, that was perfect. And obviously they hit their goal because we all did that as a kid thinking like, yeah, I'm going to defend my house.
And now we just talked about this. Like, I can't imagine my 8-year-old defending the house.
No. So one character is named Thorpe. The book on which Die Hard is based, Nothing Lasts Forever, was written by Roderick Thorpe. I already mentioned the pulling the Die Hard Blu-ray out, and David Harbour actually gained 50 pounds for this role.
He did. He was beefy.
And then he was so
because for
skinny in
Stranger
the
Things,
last.
yeah, he got really skinny because he was a Russian prisoner. So I mean,
Yeah. Well, he got skinny and buff, but like you see him in a scene without a shirt on when he has to stitch himself up and pass out.
he's
I'm
a
like,
unit,
he's a big dude
absolute unit.
with all those Viking tattoos.
Yeah. Okay. So that was one of my favorite things they did about this movie was they gave him that Nordic kind of background where he was like a real person in a war, like he was a Viking in war, and
Yeah.
he had flashbacks to who he was before, and he was grizzled and he saw shit, but he was very jaded at this point, right? Like parents just buy you stuff, and he was very much there's no Christmas magic and sloppy and drunk, and it was really funny. And I don't know why I always you've probably seen the Capital One commercial lately with John Travolta.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah. Well, it's by far it's awful. But when he
They're
goes
playing
there
a
and gets that
Saturday
glass
Night
of
Fever.
milk, yeah, it reminds me of Dave Harbour in this movie because he's at the bar. That's what it makes, but obviously two very separate things. But yeah, it was event like the reindeer left because he needed, and there was this backstory, this entire backstory. You've never thought like Santa Claus has always just been Santa. But before he
Right,
was
that we've
Santa,
gotten some backstories, but they haven't been
this might be my favorite one that he has.
grounded.
Yeah. He was a Viking warrior and he has his favorite sledgehammer. Like, that's
Yeah, it's
badass,
like a Mjolnir.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the ship was so like I loved the idea of having the Viking sleigh.
Yeah. Me
That
too.
was really pretty, yeah. Yeah, my
What
dad has that Viking compass tattoo.
what was one of your favorite deaths in this movie?
Oh. So do want to call out the one with the star to the eye because that was
yeah.
like, so I scratched my cornea a few years ago at our old house. We still had popcorn on the
Carrie's
ceiling.
done
I
that
pulled a
before, yeah.
suitcase out, got popcorn in my eye, rubbed my eye, scratched my cornea. Like
Oh God.
our Halloween costumes were going to be Mr. and Mrs. Draper from Mad Men. And I had to be a corpse because my eye wouldn't stop tearing. That was so painful. And like, I can't imagine having an entire Christmas star shoved into my eye. But then that's not where it stops. He plugs it in, electrocutes the guy, and then his head catches on fire. But that wasn't my favorite kill. My favorite kill was watching John Leguizamo go up the chimney.
Oh,
because it was so magical.
I honestly am glad you said that because that's mine too. Just for the sole fact that like he at first did not believe it was Santa when he had him tied up in the chair and he did like the whole like blow out his nose kind of thing. And then he finally did magic and they were like arguing. Like they were supposed to be that bad guy. And the one dude was like, it's really him. And he's like, shut up, stupid. It's not Santa Claus. Like that. And then to like his whole death sequence be like this epic fight after snowmobile chasing, a very Die Hard kind of thing. Because in Die Hard 2,
it's like Die Hard 2, yeah.
Yeah. Die Hard 2, they have the snowmobiles and they have that big battle. And he just fucking like zaps him up through the chimney and like shreds him in a bunch of pieces. That was metal as fuck.
because you go from like you're like, wow, that is so like magical and pretty, and he got his magic back, and there's all this glitter, and then he's just shredded.
It was
You
so
haven't gotten to
good.
this one episode of Supernatural yet. I think you got like two more seasons ago, but there's one season where somebody dies, and I won't say anything, but they're like, even his blood has glitter, and he's like, even in death, sparkle still
Yes.
shines or something. That's a great episode. I can't wait till you get to that one.
the
Oh,
the movie is it's so good. Like Trudy, I really liked her in the movie because she was like
she killed
talking with
it.
Santa on the radio. She stepped up to the plate like right off the bat. It was amazing. While the entire family and the brother-in-law, who's the action movie star, was
A
like
douche.
sucking up so hard, just wanted his movie financed, and he gets away and they just end up shooting him. Like
He had it coming.
he did. It
I
was
like how
hilarious.
the main guy is like, well, he's doing a pretty good job of acting like he likes my sister, so maybe he does have acting skills.
Yes. Yes. It
That
was
was fun to see siblings. She's like, hey, limp dick.
it was hilarious because like the sister was sucking up so hard to her mom and
She
the
named the kid Bertrude.
yeah her oh yeah and then I liked when the mom, the two moms, Trudy's mom and the sister, and they were all sitting there like fighting, but then they came together to beat up our boy there. uh
Oh yeah, Krampus.
yeah, they beat him up and they kill him ultimately. It was so kind of like classic about that. And of course there's a double cross, so there's just so much to love about this movie.
Yeah.
What are some notes that you have?
Um, let's see. I did. It's funny at the beginning, like he like takes the dad's beer and like leaves him a lump of coal.
Yes. Well,
So it's kind
I
of
think
funny.
that's
I
what's
just
good
loved
about this
seeing
movie
him.
is the Santa lore, right? The whole leaving the coal, the whole magic that's there. He just doesn't believe. And how often do you see like Christmas magic comes? The power of Christmas comes from the power of believing. And so that
Yeah.
that the way they tied his magic into that was really cool.
Yeah. And one of the things he did say too, and people make this joke, it's like, oh, these parents don't believe in Santa, and then they're never surprised when their kids have random gifts Christmas
Yeah,
morning.
right.
And Santa made a comment in this that like I'm always there for the kids who still need me and believe in
That
me.
was cute as shit.
So it would make sense in like the dad who's passed out with the beer and there was the kid in the crib right next to him, like maybe that kid needed Santa to be there, so he delivered her presents. Maybe he doesn't
Yeah.
deliver presents to the rich kid because the rich kid doesn't need them. And the way this Santa's moving so slow and drinking the good stuff and stopping everywhere, he's clearly not stopping at everybody's house. So I thought that was really cool. But I think what was really neat about this movie too was, well, we're getting these nostalgia Easter eggs and we're getting these gruesome deaths and we're getting this actual story line as well that's not, targeting children. It still gives you those Christmas feels of like believing in Christmas and believing in Santa, and the way Santa views Trudy and views this nice child. Like when he pulls out the nice list and it says like she even invited the weird kid to the party.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, I was just gonna say that one when checking on Trudy, Santa's nice list, when he
yeah.
opens it, one of the things is inviting weird kid to party.
But you know what? That takes like to not do that as a joke. That is a very, very nice thing to do. Weird kids need
Yeah,
to be invited to things too.
it's agreed. We had 17 kids at our house this past weekend, so
Oy.
I'm sure there's a couple weird ones in there. My kid might be the weird one at
Statistically
the party. I
speaking,
don't
there
know.
has to be. Logan was saying that yesterday, something about weird, and he was like, "Is that weird?" And I'm like, "Being not weird is no fun, Logan." I'm like,
Be weird,
everybody who's
man.
good is
Yeah.
weird." But to see like Santa's reaction to that, like he was so like his heart was warmed by that, and it was still very sweet to see, and
It
especially when he's
was.
doing it and he's covered in blood because he had
Trudy
just
helped
that
him
guy's
out
head
just
had
as
just
much as he
caught
helped
on
her. Yeah.
fire. Yeah.
I will say so real quick, actually, too. Morgan Steele, who was actually based on Mark Wahlberg's character because Wahlberg starred in several films about the military. He says he could have stopped the hijackers on 9/11 if he was. So I thought that was fun.
Apparently, he had to come back and apologize for that.
Yeah. And then apparently, according to producer Kelly McCormick, that all of the creators involved intend to actually make a sequel. Then they said that the sequel intended to be, commencing in the next few weeks after the film came out. So hopefully we get a sequel because I'm all aboard a sequel. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with Christmas, I mean, yeah, I would say 2 years is probably good. They should come out with that next year.
Yeah.
But
And
one thing Priel pointed out that I thought was really funny because she's gotten in, she's only 11, but she's gotten into horror and she doesn't get nightmares or
right.
anything. So I let her watch, certain things. Of course, I still make her close her eyes and turn her head and cover her ears, it seems. And she always rolls her eyes, but she does it. She pointed out something that I thought was funny. She goes, in the movies with teenagers, when the teenagers kiss, because then I make her close her eyes, they then get killed. But in the horror
Yeah.
movies with adults, after they survive, they kiss. And I
Oh
was like,
yeah,
oh my
that's true.
gosh, I
That's a good
think you're
point.
right.
That's actually clever. Yeah, actually.
So I
Interesting.
feel like it's a lesson on premarital sex.
Yeah, man, all this. One more fun fact to have is actually Trudy's belief in Santa's highlighted through her clothing. She wears a lot of red. She wears a red coat, a white scarf, a combination near the end of the film, which kind of mimics Santa's outfit as well. So it's all poetry, man. All poetry. And Gertrude's favorite whiskey is Oban, which is a single malt scotch from Oban, or Oban, how you pronounce it, Oban, on the West Highlands of Scotland. And one of the classic malts is known for its dry, smoky flavor. I guess that's kind of plays into his whole, Viking esque type thing. But yeah, I love this movie. I do. It's freaking good. I
So
loved
yeah,
it. It's a classic. It's a rewatch one every year for me because David Harbour is so believable as like this disgruntled Santa Claus, and
it's
the action
relatable.
scenes are good. Yeah, he is, and it speaks to a lot of Christmas. There's somebody at work who just fucking hates Christmas, and I'm like, how do you hate Christmas? She's, well, if I wanted to buy something, I could buy it any time of year. I'm like, but that's not the point of
It's not about
Christmas.
buying it for yourself, it's about buying it for somebody else.
Yeah, it's not even about presents. It's the vibe, it's the feeling, it's
Yeah.
the lights outside and the excitement of driving by
The
somebody's house
coziness
and
of the
seeing
tree.
lights. It's the You're sitting there in your living room, you got the Christmas tree up, and the Christmas tree lights are the only thing that's lighting up your living room. And the kids are excited because there's elves, and you're excited because there's so many good holiday drinks, and it's a time for everybody to kind of come together, whether it's friends or family. And I love Christmas, man. And that's my
Me
thing. Is
too.
like Christmas is a vibe. And so this movie captures that
Agreed.
Christmas vibe and even tongue in cheeks the whole spirit around family when it comes to Christmas. So
I agree. Oh, one thing I did want to say, I did not mention this movie because I actually mentioned it in my top five horror movies in October. Gremlins. That's a Christmas
yo,
horror
yeah,
movie.
it is. It is. I
So
totally forgot about that.
shout out to that one. Again, I didn't mention it because we just talked about it and did fun facts on it 6 weeks ago.
Yeah. Not even
So
so. Go watch Gremlins. That's another good one. But yeah, that's all I have on Violet Night. Do you have any final thoughts as to the movie or any Christmas horror?
no, I think I covered them. Yeah, I think Violent Night's on the yearly rotation for me as well. Like
Easily. Give me a
I
sequel.
forgot how good it was,
Yeah.
even though I had just watched it last year.
Yeah, but it's one of those like it's one of those that doesn't get old. Just even though you know it's coming, it
Even though it's
doesn't
still new.
diminish.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's old but new, and then you rewatch it and you're like, I know this is coming, but it still hits just as well.
Well, and as soon as it kicks off too, when he's sitting at the bar and he's drunk and he's not lying about who he is and people are laughing. It's like that scene in Supernatural
Yeah,
to get checked into the insane asylum, they tell the truth.
yeah.
They're like, my brother wasn't,
That's another
he
really good
didn't
part.
mean to start the
He's
apocalypse.
very
He was just
open.
drunk on demon blood.
Yeah, he's very open about the fact that he is Santa Claus this entire movie. He tells the robbers when they capture him, I'm Santa. And
Yeah.
nobody believes him.
They're
It's
like, the
crazy.
reindeer do most of the driving. I just steer. And they're like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah. And it sounds so dumb when you hear it, but it's also like it's the best because it's true. And
But even seeing the bartender when she runs up to the roof and she sees him and she's like, oh, he's real. And
as she
she's so
gets puked
excited.
on
But even after she gets puked on, she's like disgusted, but then she's still mesmerized and like,
by
wow, this
Santa.
is amazing.
It makes you, yeah, it's great. Go watch this movie. If you haven't, I'm kind of surprised you're here, but hopefully you've watched it.
It's still worth watching.
It's even if you know it's coming, I promise you it's very much worth watching. Go check it out. Let us know your thoughts on the movie. Hop in our Discord, let us know, hit us up on Facebook, whatever it may be. We want to hear from you guys. Some upcoming events that we have again is probably MegaCon here the first weekend of February. Be sure to probably find us there. We either will have one panel,
Less
two
than two
panels.
months.
Yeah, we are going to be there in some capacity. And if there's interest, we would love to do like maybe a meetup, like everybody meet up at a brewery and we just get together and have beers and have a good old evening at a brewery. Who knows? And it's Comic-Con. It's amazing.
Yeah.
MegaCon is awesome.
Well, the pub's right there too, and the pub's never crowded at MegaCon, which is nice.
Yeah, we can
Get to
do something.
pint.
So if you're in the Orlando area or will be in the Orlando area for MegaCon, give us a shout and we will be planning something really fun. In the meantime, go ahead, subscribe, all that good stuff like I already mentioned. Next week, we are going to be doing Elf because it's the 20th anniversary already. I saw
That's
a thing
so
where
crazy.
Will Ferrell was 34 years old while filming this movie. And I was like, Will Ferrell has always looked like he's 55. It
He was
kind of
only
gave me like a
34.
midlife.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's all these people like. So somebody sent me
But he
today,
looked old as
Jessica.
fuck, dude.
But Jessica sent a thing like in the Santa Claus movie. Here's your reminder that Tim Allen was 38. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And then like Catherine O'Hara was only 35 when she did
But
Home
they look
Alone.
old. Don't like. I
I'm
don't
older
feel
than
like
all these people.
But I don't feel like either one of us
I'm
look.
old enough to be Santa.
I don't feel like I look like Will Ferrell looked in Elf, and I don't feel like you looked like
I
Catherine
don't
O'Hara.
think
Like
so
Catherine
either.
O'Hara looked old, but I don't
But she
feel
looked.
old.
She
I
also
don't.
dressed classy. I don't really dress classy.
I don't either. I
don't
live in a
know.
hoodie and freaking shorts or my Roosevelt shirt. Shout out to Roosevelt's. It's the it's pretty much like the Toy Maker version where it's got a bunch of
Yeah, those are pretty
Nutcracker,
fancy.
stormtroopers. It's got a Nutcracker
Oh,
Darth Vader, and there's a bunch of presents, and Luke and Leia are dressed up, or actually it's Luke and Han, I'm sorry, are dressed up as they're the stormtroopers from New Hope.
that's
Shout out to
fun.
Roosevelt's for the drip for this holiday season. Go check them out. Mosh Isley is going to be happening at
Yeah,
the
that's going to be
MegaCon.
over in Old Town. I saw that. I was surprised at that.
I think we might be there at that one. Maybe we'll see. And then they're doing like a Roosevelt's meetup as well. So check that out. But yeah, man, I don't feel like I'm having a midlife crisis. We got to wrap this episode up. I'm not
You will
old.
always be
You're
younger
old.
than me, so that could make you feel better. I don't
Yeah,
feel old. I feel
I don't
fine.
either. I feel great. My knees don't feel great, but everything
My
else feels
knees feel
great.
fine. My hips
Lucky.
feel fine. My back feels fine.
Oh
I
man.
ran
All
this
right.
morning.
Well,
Let's
kids,
go.
it's time to wrap this up before we go to the nursing home. Thanks for hanging out with us. Like I
I'm
said,
going
Elf is
clubbing.
next week. 200 episodes is up in 2 weeks. We are on episode 197. We have a
Ooh, and our Christmas special will be after Elf.
Christmas
I'm excited
special.
for that.
Yeah, we haven't solidified things, but we will be doing something very soon. Be on
Christmassy.
the lookout for our socials. It's going to be a Christmas special. We're having fun. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
We're going to drink Christmas bombers and get drunk.
Yes. Yes. Cheers, folks.